friends. So today I want to clarify some things about mind-body work, okay? Because there is this idea that this involves some really deep, painful excavation of memories in the past and difficulty, okay? And I understand, if you have chronic symptoms, that you're in a state of difficulty. I get that. But if you're in this state of chronic fight or flight, and the chances are probably pretty good you've been there for a while, right? Oftentimes you don't even realize you're in the state of fight or flight until you start understanding this work and the science that's involved in it. As I didn't know I was in it, I had no idea. All right? But once we start applying the mind-body science and start paying attention to what's going on, the chances are, and this is what it was for me, that you're going to start feeling better immediately. The only thing that's going to make you feel worse is if you start resisting it, start doubting it, start fighting it. That will make you feel worse because that's another danger signal, okay? For me, when I found out about the science and I found Lorimer Mosley, and then I went on the Curable app, I started listening to the education, and I was like, it's just because my brain doesn't feel safe. So I put my hand on my heart and I just said, you're safe. And immediately it felt like my whole inner system was going, whoa. It never had anything like that before. And it was such a big clue for me that this is where I needed to go. Now, because of my own situation and my own symptoms, I had found myself avoiding quite a bit. I was avoiding going out. I was avoiding, being in groups of people. But I was also avoiding other things. And this avoidance was what was kind of perpetuating a fight or flight signal into the brain. And oftentimes we do this, okay? And because we want to stay comfortable. This is a big clue where I'm going. So avoidance. We avoid things that don't make us comfortable or don't feel familiar, right? And we also avoid the unknown. So avoidance is a huge message of danger because it's like, no, I don't want to go there. It's not safe. All right? And if we have symptoms, we might avoid, for me, going out and going for a walk because I was triggered by walking, or sitting in a chair, or doing a certain movement, avoiding foods, right? If we avoid foods, we are telling the brain that those foods are not safe, okay? So this is how avoidance works. And it's something that we really need to pay attention to in our life. What am I avoiding, okay? And as I went deeper into my own mind-body recovery, and also even beyond recovery, because I still apply this science, by the way. To me, it's the ultimate tool for real freedom and health. Okay? Now we're always going to come across stressors and things that make us uncomfortable. Okay? But if our health is dependent upon resilience of the brain, we want that brain to be able to adapt and gain confidence that it can move into a stressor or an uncomfortable situation. And stressors can be those foods that we're avoiding, or those movements we're avoiding, or certain scenarios we're avoiding. If we want to build resilience, we have to move into those places. Because we're bigger than the brain's programs and the brain's perceptions. We're the awareness of self. Okay? And so we're like the mature adult that is going to show that smaller, younger part, which is the brain's programs, that something is not actually dangerous. So a huge part of recovery is starting to become aware of what you're avoiding. Now, avoiding, once we move past the kind of like the symptom stuff, and we actually go for that walk, and or we sit in that chair and we eat that food, or we drive in the car, and the brain starts to say, oh, this isn't as triggering or as dangerous as I thought. And it starts letting go of the need to create symptoms around the trigger. Okay? And this is symptom recovery. This is how we get better. By showing the brain that those triggers are safe and doing them with confidence and clarity and enjoyment. Eat the food with enjoyment. Don't be afraid of it, right? Go for a walk because you want to, because it's nice outside, right? Don't be afraid of it. Sit in the chair because you want to sit in the chair. Enjoy it, okay? So moving past avoidance is super important, and becoming aware of what we're avoiding. Now, avoidance is also transferable over into other kind of life stuff too, right? And our big part of creating resilience in the brain is going to be moving into places that we used to avoid. And I know myself that there were things I avoided. And one of them was maybe speaking up, saying things with clarity and kindness and confidence when they needed to be said. Because sometimes there's this belief, especially in the spiritual world, oh, just don't say anything, right? But if we're avoiding saying things because unconsciously they're not safe, right? We might disrupt the waters a little bit. We might maybe cause somebody to react a little bit. We have to really discern, like, why am I not saying something? And for me, I started to see that it was an automatic program. It wasn't something I chose to do. It was just something that I did. Okay? I just wouldn't say something when maybe it would have helped the conversation become more clear if I would have. right? Because we're not necessarily saying something to like stick up for ourselves, or we're saying something for clarity, to help the conversation to become more clear. And that helps relationships. All right? So building resilience was starting to see that. And it was also starting to see other ways that I avoided things. And my at present evolution and growth and change involves giving the brain new information to replace the avoidance. So if we, just like in symptom recovery, if we avoided like a food because we thought that that food was dangerous, like let's say bread. We have this really great homemade crusty sourdough bread here, hand milled, and I really wanted to eat some. And I had to know that that bread was not going to hurt me. I had to come from clarity and enjoyment, which was, I want to eat that. Right? Which is a way I started to overcome the brain's perception of danger, by not avoiding, by eating it with confidence and clarity and enjoyment. Okay? Now, and then I transferred it to other things in my life, and such as like doing this work, like doing videos. It would have been really easy to say, no, I don't want to do a video today. Or maybe people won't like it. Or, and I could feel something in me just sort of say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. It was very subtle. But I knew there was avoidance going on because I started to learn it. I started to recognize it in my system. An avoidance, which is a tactic to stay safe. Okay. So I started to transfer this into my life and doing things that I started to detect that subtle little avoidance mechanism going on. And I started to lean in to those places, right? Some of you know what I'm talking about. And leaning in was showing the brain that I'm not buying into this, things are not as safe as they could be, right? Because avoidance is just a perception of danger. Masked, kind of disguised. How we talk ourselves into something that might not be safe. So by leaning in, by recognizing the ways that there was an avoidance program in the unconscious, and leaning in instead and doing these things, I was giving the brain the message of safety. Because I am bigger than those programs. I am the mature adult that gives the brain those younger, more not quite integrated parts, not quite mature enough parts, the information that it was safe. The brain responds to new information really well. That's the frontal lobe. And so by giving the brain new information, and I could go, this is a whole new topic, a whole new video, I could start to change that habit of avoidance, which is a danger message. And when the danger messages start to shift, you just start noticing something in your system that feels more confident. Just by simply changing those avoidance mechanisms. We're talking about homeostasis here. Because homeostasis is a resting state, is a confident state. It's the absence of the danger message. All right? So I'm going to keep it simple here. I'm going to keep it at the avoidance topic. All right? Just for you to ponder and see how it applies to yourself. All right? I hope this was helpful. You have a great day.